Hello, everyone. Welcome to the preseason for Basingstoke in Football Manager 2016. As you can see, it is the 3rd of August. Our first match is in 3 days. Perfect time to wrap up the preseason. So let's quickly jump in. And first, I must point out we're doing amazing, I might say. First in everything. Pretty awesome. I mean, we need to work on our red cards. Clearly, we don't want to be first in red cards and yellow cards. But hey, impeccable defense, impeccable offense. What can you do? All joking aside, let's go ahead and look back at what a little bit of the preseason that just happened here. So, board confidence update. Just this last month, made a profit of 140,000. Pretty awesome. Other income is where that came from. Don't know what that means. Usually it'd be like season tickets or something. Not sure. Uh, Team win bonuses. Last season they were low. This season they're also low. This is because the team is poor. Basingstoke is very, very poor, and this is a pretty good way to actually save a little bit of money. The captain is Charlie Allen, the guy from last season that was a little disappointing. He is the new captain. The old captain and old vice captain were both released on a free transfer for not being good enough. Michael Chambers is now the new vice captain as well. We'll look at those players in a little bit. And aside from that, I don't think there's much else to say, at least as the inbox is concerned. Let's go ahead and look at the actual team here. We'll do it in tactics mode. So the tactics themselves I did not change. We are still playing a structured game. Remember, we're still non-league. We may be in the national, the VNL, the tippy top of non-league, but we're still non-league. We need to stay with the tactic. We need to stay with the structure. And that's much easier said than done. I was able to pick up some people that I wanted, that I mentioned from last episode, such as Luke Rooney. Picked him up. Solid 4-star VNL player coming down from Crawley, coming down from League 2 to come play for us because I offered him $1,900 per week, which was more than he was earning previously. I basically bribed him to come play for us. And as you can see, he's a 4-star player, and in the position that I'm providing him, 4.5 stars. Like, he is basically our superstar for that position. He outdoes Lewis Wilson, who used to take that position up by quite a bit. You see, Lewis Wilson, still quality, but we have a new first team member. That being said, every once in a while, Wilson will probably have to take over because Rooney will be in a bad spell or whatever. So definitely looking towards Wilson for that. Held on to Mark Ethelson. Got him back from Reading for another year. Super excited about that. You can see he's only 4 stars now. I mean, what are you going to do? Only 4 stars. Also picked up Michael Chambers. So Michael Chambers, 22 years old, could be up to 4 stars in total. Got him from Welling for $12,000, and he was relegated from the VNL. Welling was relegated from the VNL, so we picked him up. He was really kind of unhappy over at Welling. Scooped him for 12K. Although I think in the history, whoa, don't know where we're going there. No, it does say 12.5K. We got him end of contract, but we still had to pay a fee, and I'm not quite sure why. But he didn't play well for Welling. Welling also ended up getting relegated. So I have a feeling he'll do better for us here. If he doesn't, we still have Antwi, and we also picked up the new player, also from Reading, Daniel Akinwunmi. 3.5 star, going on 4-star player, already showing improvements. That's very nice. But Reading youth player, pick him up on loan. And the goal here is that he will be primarily a defender right for us, but he can also play defender left really well. We're training him to play better defender left, so fingers crossed there that he'll actually pull through. But as long as we still have Tom Bird, we should still be okay. Ended up giving a contract to Aaron Howe. I know I said he was kind of an iffy. I could not find a better goalkeeper. Really, I couldn't. Like, I looked around and no decent goalkeepers wanted to join. It's just like, okay, fine. I'll give you another one. It's fine. Other additions to the main team here. We missing anybody? Anyone new? Ah, yes. One more. Matty Wishelow. 3.5 stars, going on 4 stars, 24 years old. Bought him from Boreham Wood, and shortly before he transferred over, he got a hernia and he's been out for 2 months. He hasn't actually done anything in the preseason, which is really sad. We got him on free from Boreham Wood. They didn't want him. I do. I think he'll be very solid for us, especially considering we need a winger. He plays attacking midfield right winger very well, but he also plays left pretty well as well. So looking towards it. I don't know why. Oh, because that's inside forward. Got it. Never mind. But 1,000 per week. I'm not sure if that was a step up or a step down, but for the most part, hopefully everything will work out well. And of course, everyone's disappointed about the low collective win bonus. But honestly, the club still needs to be saving money. Earlier, in the last episode, I mentioned that the club was spending $250,000. Cost ended up being $240,000, I believe. No, $220,000. Sorry, it was $220,000 for the new training facilities. They are almost done. They'll be finishing up here in October, and all of that came straight out of the profit loss. We were not hit with a tax bill because the training facility cost came out first, so no taxable profits were there, and I was really happy to see that. Obviously, preseason's been very successful. We've made almost $134,000 in the preseason, so awesome. And that's actually especially good because when we started the preseason, we were negative $2,000. We had lost $2,000 by the start of the preseason, so very successful preseason. We got a lot of money. So this is our opponents for this season. Might be teams that you guys recognize from League 2, other teams you recognize from North-South. From the North-South. We'll just call it the North-South. The big one that I want to worry about, though, is Oxford City. Oxford City came up with us, and as long as we finish higher than Oxford City, then we really kind of did deserve to win the league. If Oxford City finishes higher than us, then that looks bad on us. Like, we beat everybody last year, and if Oxford City one-ups us here, that would be pretty bad. So, really looking to stay ahead of Oxford City this season. And again, 20th is our goal. The board set the goal to attempt to avoid relegation. I upped that and said, you know what? I will avoid relegation. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to do my best to avoid relegation. I'm confident. I am. Morale's pretty good, and I picked up some pretty solid players to add to my team, as well as some good loan players. I feel like as a whole we have a pretty good setup. I mean, even our substitutes and our backups are all still good enough. They can definitely contribute to the team still. You know, like Simon Dunn, he can still do stuff. So I'm looking towards this being a pretty productive season. If we go to VNL here, so Tranmere having some serious injury problems. Our first match is actually against Macclesfield, which is same injuries as us, 1. So it'll be pretty straightforward. For the season preview, though, we are sitting in 24th at a 201 to actually win it. I'm not looking to win it. I would be happy and delighted if we won, but I think that would be overstepping what we could do, honestly. Like, we would get promoted, and then next season we would get annihilated. I mean, really, the players that I signed are on contracts for at least 2 years. And yes, I have a lot of extra money, but I don't have so much money that I can afford to buy a League 2 team. Even when the board would give me a little bit more money to buy a League 2 team, there still wouldn't be enough. So I'm not ultimately very concerned about it. I'm just aiming for 20th, beat Stockport. I want to set our odds to 80-1, ultimately. And I don't know why Oxford City's ranked higher than we are. But we're looking to beat Oxford City. So they're set at 18th. We're looking to be around that area. As far as transfers go, Go ahead and go through this real quick. You can pause it if you want to see who's going in, who's going out, who's going where. You can see who I bought and who I got rid of as well. If you're playing along with me here, you'll be able to see the names of the players that I just didn't feel were necessary, and the names of the players that I added into the team as well. So feel free to pause and look it over. You can see all sorts of different players out there. If you see a player you think is really awesome, let me know. I'll happily scout them and see if they can be an asset to my team. So there we go. There's a couple more in here. Yep, there's the last one. All right. And of course, players to watch. There are always players to watch. So, that being said, competition-wise, we are set to go to the board confidence. I feel like I just went the wrong way. Competition performance. All right. So for the FA Cup, we are to reach the first round. That's the hope. Fingers crossed we get to the first round. All's good. Don't have to win. Don't have to get past. Just want the first round. Hopefully we'll get lucky. For the FA Trophy, reach the second round. Pretty straightforward. And then VNL, avoid relegation. So we'll see how that goes as well. Looking at our match schedule for the entire preseason here, so you can see very, very busy preseason. I always really fill up the preseason. If we go ahead and look to arrange a friendly, and we back it up, I can't back it up. It won't let me back it up. Fine. Never mind. Cancel. But you can look at the dates yourselves. Like, we're playing a game every 2 to 3 days. We're playing a game. And that is very much so on purpose. We are a semi-pro team. We're not going to stay match fit all the time. So we need to be regularly playing games. And in this case, we're playing games to the point of making sure people are match fit, 100% match fit going into the first match. They won't be 100% match fit, and that will give us an edge. That will hopefully give us an early punch to get some momentum, especially since we're coming off of a relatively long undefeated streak here against lesser teams, largely. We did play 4 bigger teams a little bit earlier. The biggest teams we could find ourselves playing against went pretty poorly. Gotta say, went pretty poorly against those teams, but they generated a lot of money for us. So I will gladly, happily, absolutely take the money from those games and throw it towards us, because they gave us a combined probably about 100 grand between those 4 matches. We got about 100 grand out of it. Profit, like actual profit. Net 100 grand. So definitely worth it, but then we have to keep morale up. We have to keep people happy, and that's what all these matches are for. And it worked out well. Our first match is against Macclesfield, beating them again in December, beginning of December, and with the final match being against Torquay. I'm not sure how to say that. I am not English. I'm American, but I'm just going to call it Torquay. That's what it looks like for me. Like a quay for, like, water. It's probably wrong. I don't know. As far as the under-21s, under-18s are concerned, they had some decent friendlies. I have the head coaches set to do an auto-friendly every single week, regardless of whether or not there's a match. So we got some extra matches in there, and that worked out pretty nicely for them. Speaking of staff, fun little tip for anyone that's trying to play a low-league game. Usually when you play like in the Premier League, or either Championship, or even League One, you have a pretty big staff pool to choose from. You're allowed, 5, 6, 8, 12, 20 coaches, depending on how wealthy the club is. You're allowed a pretty big staff. But when you're playing a non-league team, you are allowed a grand total of 2 scouts. 2 whole scouts. And as for actual coaches, like other staff, I mean, you can see it's 1. Just like we're allowed 1 of each. We are not allowed an under-21s assistant coach. I was just granted recently the under-21s head coach. They said, okay, you can have that. It's like, yes, thank you. And then we're also not allowed any under 21s coaching staff or a physio or under 18s physio. We can only use the physios for the 2 physios for the entire club. So your coaching staff is very, very minimal, just bare bones, and you think that would crush your ability to train. But this is where being part-time, being semi-professional, really, really shines. Because let's actually look at our coaches. We have so many! How do we have so many? Contracts, the way it works out. So let's look at Martin Campbell. He's probably the one I'm most proud of getting because he's actually really solid. I hired a director of football because I wanted another coach, and he's a good defender and also a good director of football. So look at actual director of football stats. He's okay. I mean, for us, he's pretty good. But he's also a pretty decent coach when you look at his stats. So it's like, let's make you a coach as well. And you actually look at his contract info, you can see that he's a director of football and a coach. In the actual contract itself, I gave him 2 roles. Now, I had to pay him more to take both the roles. But in this way, I have extra coaches so that the quality of coaching goes up. So much so that we have only 1 star for goalkeeping. But aside from that, more than 1 star for everything else. I recently actually finished getting my my coaching qualification as well. I think I'm sitting at National A, or am I working towards National A? Studying National A. I am studying National A. Oh yes, and there's all the 4 clubs that I support. I think I only those 4 I really care about anyways. And it's blasphemous, I know. Arsenal and Chelsea. I'm not overly like avid towards like any of them. I'm not super like, go this team. I'm just like, yeah, I like this team. I think it's a cool team. I like what they do. And all of them for different reasons, and I can get into that later. It's not important, but let's see. So you can see that I renegotiated my contract here, and I renegotiated it down. So originally I was being paid about $700 a week. I negotiated it down to $190. Now, part of the score, your own personal coach score in the game, comes down to how much you can get paid. That is a large portion of how score is determined in this game, regardless of whether or not you think that's what makes a great head coach. That's just part of it. Is just the wages is your score. So you'd think, well, why would I take 190 per week? You can't really even live off of 190 per week. That's just absurd. That's because, and I'm sure you astute observers have noticed, I am the head coach for the France under-21s, which is giving me extra money. So I'm getting more money from the French under-21s. And this happened 4 days ago-ish. July 31st, I was hired. The France head coach said, yeah, sure, we'll take you. And I went ahead and applied for this because I want... Basingstoke is only limited to scouting in all of England, and that's it. Like, all they have is England. No Wales, no Scotland, no nothing. Just England. So, I want to be able to scout more players. So, if I want to know something about a player, I am a head coach of an international team, and I will tell that international team and use the money from the international team to go and explore other players. Tell me about other players, which is actually really nice. It gives me more range to scout while still actually being limited to Basingstoke, more or less. And it is in that way I actually found Theo DeRosa, who I am currently offering a trial for and is being scouted by Chris Porter. Theo DeRosa and Xavier Dejoux, I guess. Dejoux. I'm not sure. But I offered a trial to both of them because I looked at them, and they're terrible for the under-21s team. They absolutely have no place in the national pool. But they have a place at Basingstoke if they want to play. And we could probably get something out of them. I mean, we'll see. They're part of the EU, so I think they'd be allowed. But it's actually kind of funny. I applied to the job over at Jamaica. Jamaica's head coach had a vacancy, as it usually does around 2016. And they immediately said no. A couple weeks later, I got an application. I got a phone call from Juventus saying, hey, we want you to come be our head coach. Juventus, okay? As in the Serie A consecutive title champions, Juventus. And they wanted me, and Jamaica didn't, and I found that to be hilarious. Obviously, this is a rags to riches game. This is taking Basingstoke up to the Premier League and keeping them there after I leave. That I can leave the club, and then they will stay in the Premier League as a solid Premier League league. They won't just immediately drop down after I leave. That's the goal. I don't know if it'll play out well, but it is the goal. So, anywho, I believe that's all there is to show. I'm recording this only a couple hours after I made the previous episode. So if you did leave something in the comments of the last episode, I will definitely try to cover it in the mid-season of this series. So the next episode. If you left a comment in the previous episode wanting to see something. Same thing. Leave a comment in this episode if you want to see something. I will try to cover it in the mid-season, if at all possible. Outside of that, feel free to comment questions below as well. Like I mentioned in the first episode, I have thousands of hours of experience in the Football Manager series. So please feel free to drop me a question, and I will do my best to answer that question. Like I said, we have some fans of some teams that are currently in the championship. Just look at the season preview for those so you can get a general idea of where your teams are that you're a big fan of there. So, anywho, guys, I think that'll go ahead and do it for the episode. I'm really excited about this upcoming season, and I think we're gonna do okay. I'm not sure yet. It's tough. Money-wise, we're doing great. Almost one more thing. We have new sponsors. So our previous sponsor deals were worth $60,000. This one's worth $40,000-ish. It went from $61,000 to $45,000-ish for the year. So we actually made less money this year than we did last year on a sponsorship deal. However, our new main kit is a 2-year deal, which means we're in it for $30,000 for each year. So ultimately, it's more money in the long run, but in the short run, we're missing out on $20,000. So I think it's better for the club to go ahead and have this 2-year deal. As long as we stay up in the VNL, we'll probably end up getting some better ones anyways, so it's not a big issue. Again, no debts. The club had plenty of money to go ahead and build the new training facilities. Don't think there's anything else that Oh, relay the field, please. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. We agree risk of injuries is good enough to relay the field. We will relay the field in the summer. Gosh, dang it. When are you going to do it? 2017. The new service should be ready 6/7/2017. I wanted to relay the field before this upcoming season. I did not get to that, but that's okay. We're going to have a field relayed next season after we try to survive this season. But as for everything else, there's not much else that's really changed other than we have a couple new players and some momentum going into our very first match against Macclesfield. So I will catch up with you guys coming in probably around the FA Cup 4th qualifying round shortly after that. So we're looking maybe right after the Guiseley game as the transfer window opens up. I will try to catch up to you guys. Although I think the transfer window's open all year here, isn't it? June to August, September to November for domestic loan transfers and free transfers. Okay, so VNL is a little bit different. Because you go to like the north-south, transfer window, June 2016 to March 2017. Like, beginning of June to end of March. Like, so VNL is more standard. So I'll catch up with you guys at the beginning of the next transfer window and see if we actually need to pick anyone up. And I feel like I'm rambling on again. I love to ramble on. I can talk for hours and hours and hours about this game. I love this game so much. I don't know why, but I love the Football Manager series so much. I could just talk for hours about it, about all these different things. But for now, guys, that will just have to do. So as always, thank you for watching. I will see you next time, and I will try to cover everything in the future. The tactic hasn't changed. Set pieces haven't changed. The people changed, but that's about it. So if you like the video, give it a like, subscribe, and share with your friends. It's the best thing you can do, and it really helps the channel grow. I really appreciate it. So thanks for watching. I'm going to shut up now so you guys can stop watching the video. DFTBA.